If you work with locks and keys, your work matters. And it's very important in the society that we live in today. But so is your safety. And more in the last coming years and even months, safety for the lock and key professional has never been so important. Now, this is an area that I don't have a lot of experience in. And so what I'm doing is finding people who do have experience and I'm bringing them to you, where together we can learn to be safe on the job. Let me introduce you to Russell. All right, everyone. Well, I am here with Russell Davies. Russell, thank you for taking the time, coming on and hanging out for a little bit.
Hey, you're welcome.
So if you could just kind of give us a brief history of your background.
Yes, I'm originally from Australia. I was born into locksmiths, so father's locksmith, grandfather's locksmith. So I did an apprenticeship and I decided to have a career change at one point and I became a police officer. I was a police officer for 15 years. And I ended up doing some overseas details where I met my wife, who's American, and I've been living in the US since 2007. I've been working as a contractor for training, contractor for security, and contractor for manufacturing tools and equipment. And I've also had my own business designing and building locksmithing tools and entry tools. And I've basically started my own locksmith business again, just as a bit of therapy. And I've been running a full service locksmithing 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service now for 2 years at this location.
Very cool. So you have a lot of law enforcement background, but you've always kind of had a passion and have done locksmithing style work your entire life with your dad and grandpa being locksmiths.
Yes.
Interesting. So, I've talked in the last video when I was talking with my dad about this, this is a area of locksmithing safety is something that I don't have much experience on at all. At the same time, it's become a very, very big issue. And so I've been on the hunt to bring people on and to kind of just give them their perspectives on good practices, what to look out for, and just perspectives from people who have some training or some experience in this topic. And so I'm really happy that you reached out to me and we're able to kind of do this video together and to really gain your perspective.
No, absolutely. Love to help. I'm for the community, for the Guild of Locksmithing, and anything that's going to help our brothers and sisters out there to be able to be safer and work better. Absolutely. Jumping right in.
Perfect. Yeah. So when it comes to just safety in general, so do you do 24-hour work? Do you just do like shop work? Like, could you kind of give us like a scope of work that you do?
Yeah, I'm not exactly a job snob right now, but no, I do 24 hours, 7 days. So if anyone's locked out of their house, car, lost keys, safes, commercial work, Erie's not really a big bustling town or city. So I do also travel out of the way. So sometimes I can travel up to an hour if they're willing to pay the fees. But we do travel, or I do travel.
Okay, very good. So when it comes to like basics, so I kind of want to talk on about the phone first, and then I kind of want to move into actual physical. So when you're on the phone with the training you've had, are there ever any like red flags when you're talking to someone and you're like, you know what, this is something I don't want anything to do with this?
Yeah. The first thing is intoxication. If someone's intoxicated by whatever means, and that again is also a bit of a difficult situation too, because sometimes people could be suffering from diabetes and have the same effects as have the same effect as being drunk or intoxicated, and it might be an emergency situation for them, which comes into the next thing. What we deem as an emergency may not be what they're thinking as an emergency. People's tolerance on on things are a lot lower than what we would expect. Also, if somebody's been very evasive with answers, you don't expect everybody to know their make, model of vehicle. Typically, if someone's not being truthful, they tend to sort of drop the ball a bit and say it's my friend's house or my cousin's house. I'm not saying that it's their house. So they're the first triggers that you should be pricking the ears up over.
Okay. It's just kind of like they're not really very good, straightforward answers.
Exactly. But I mean, some people are that just typically that way. I mean, it's rare-ish. Also, you don't know what the situation may be. You know, they may have just been in a violent struggle with someone trying to steal their bag or their pocket book or their wallets or keys or whatever. You don't really know. And they're just reaching out for help, and they won't even tell you. You know, sometimes I've had people they've been assaulted and they've not actually said that. The first person they've called was me because they can't get into their house, and then I arrive, and you find out that, hey, you should be calling the police first before you be calling me. So, I mean, there's big obvious ones, but if you can spend all day splitting hairs going right down to the little bits, but you know the main ones, you know.
I think it's one of those, like I always like to say, you know, this is more true than, you know, untrue, but it could also not be true, right?
Right.
I think I think something that we're kind of talking about is just discernment, right? You're going to have some discernment when you're on the phone and you're listening to the person and you're asking them questions.
Right.
So if a person is doing that, let's say, you know, hey, they lost their keys, they're at their cousin's house, they don't have their wallet on them, and you're kind of getting that, you know, spidey sense that, you know, doesn't seem like a good situation. How are you getting off the phone? Like, what are you saying to them? And
I mean, there's the good old saying of saving face, empathy, and also, I mean, if the person is extremely intoxicated or like persistently just being painful, there's no other way than just to hang up on that type of person. But other people, you can just say, look, I'm sorry, we're not available. The first availability we have would be in the morning or mid morning the following day. We don't have anything available at that time. And then apologize to them. You may get a bit of grief, and you know the way things are nowadays, you might get a bad review. But I'd rather get a bad review than a bad beating.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Yeah, so a strategy you have is just try to push that call out to the next day, right? Yes. And if they call back and then they sound normal, or they're like, "Hey, I have my wallet now," you know, whatever it might be, then like that kind of changes the whole situation for you.
So sort of referencing as well, nighttime is your enemy, obviously because of the light. You know, daytime doesn't mean day or night. You still have the chance of getting yourself in a situation. But at nighttime, I would be bouncing it to the next morning or the next 12 hours when you got daylight, because it's a lot safer working in daylight than it would be trying to be trying to negotiate or argue with people in the dark.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks. I think that's really good advice. So let's talk about, like, so you end up taking the call, for whatever reason, however the phone conversation went, you felt that you felt comfortable going to it, and you start to pull up. And I guess before we go there, I'd like to ask you a question, which is, have you found yourself in dangerous situations?
Yes, I have. Where it's only because I'm new to the city, and you know, not really knowing bad parts of the city or portions of the city, or you know, particular neighborhoods have a bit of a bad rap. I kind of learned that pretty quickly, but situational awareness is absolute necessity. Even if you're not sure, do a Google Earth walkthrough to see if there's any blocked roads, even if there's construction, even if there's, you know, like just the conditions of the roads themselves will make it difficult for you to either turn around. I would not drive down a road that is blocked off or one way. That if you can't do more than a single point turn or a 3-point turn with speed, I wouldn't really go go down there unless I have illumination, which I guess is a very strong point for me. My vehicle, I have gone over the top when it comes to illumination and spotlights. I have spotlights on all four sides of my vehicle on the roof, and I've got bar lights on the bottom and also on the rear bumper as well. So when I go down the road, I light it up. I absolutely light everything up, and I guess that's a habit from being in the police force. But a lot of your danger goes away, but is lessened when there's light, because people are going to come up and surprise you. They don't like light. And that's the problem, is the surprise. It doesn't matter how good you are. You could be carrying, you could be wearing a vest, you could be highly trained, but it's the surprise attack or the surprise jump that is gonna take anyone out. It can take anyone out. And having that buffer zone, or being able to see in areas around vehicles and in dark areas and laneways, that's a necessity. I find it hard to see numbers, because the numbering of houses is difficult to see. So I'm having to slow down very slowly and try and read the numbers. But sure. If I get a chance to do a bit of a quick look on Google Earth, I'm always using my maps on my phone and on my vehicle screen. And I always do a zoom in and check to see if there's one-way streets or if they just are open-ended roads. If they're not open-ended, I might even do just a bit of a drive around before I actually go into the road. But because I don't want to take anything else out of your questioning, but at the same time, if it's an unknown and it is a one-way street, I do what we used to call a red alpha. And what that is I would call the customer, and I would get them to stand out the front of where their vehicle is or where their house is, and actually either flash their phone or a flashlight of some sort to confirm that is the person that you are talking to on the phone.
Okay, interesting. As you're saying that, actually, I mean, I even think of, even like Uber does the same thing, right? Like when they yes. pull up, the first thing down is their window, and right. They're confirming, before yep. there's any close contact. So, okay. So yeah, that's good. So have them, do something like that. So now let's talk about now. So you get there, you start to meet the people, see what's going on, and you realize like something's just not okay. For one thing yep. or another, maybe it's not their vehicle, maybe it's stolen, maybe the people who called you out there are people that you don't want to be around for safety reasons. How, I mean, with the other conversation I had with my dad, and the other conversations I've had, I like to talk about like that conflict point, right? There's this point where it's like you want to get out of the situation because of the conflict you feel like could happen, but to leave, you essentially have to say or do something that could create that conflict, which a lot of times makes us want to avoid it.
Right. I mean, you've got to try and have the upper hand at all times. I know, I realized out of habit, I used to just get straight out of my van, go around to the side and grab my tools. And that happens during the daytime, as I said, during the light hours. But nighttime, I tend to, exactly what you said, I want to engage with them first, assess the situation, maybe see what's going on. And then I get a visual with them, and I get to see their demeanor as well as being able to talk to them. And then I will then decide either, that I want to go and do that. So if you're there empty-handed, well, I can't be empty-handed. Again, another police habit. I have a book with me, and I can use it as a method to push people away or whatever. But I mean, that's getting into hand-to-hand defensiveness. But it gives me an excuse to then go to my vehicle. Oh, I've got to get my tools. So you basically give us 5 seconds. I'll just go grab my tools. You basically just get in your van and go. You don't engage. Don't verbally disengage as you're leaving. You just disengage and get in your car and go, or your van and go.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So I mean, you get out, you engage with the people, you can assess kind of what's going on.
Right.
You don't have anything with you. You have to go back to your van anyways.
Yep.
And you give yourself an opportunity to just let them know, hey, I got to go back to my van.
Absolutely.
And
you're giving yourself a segue to get out of that area. Being. I mean, you have your personal space, and then you have a safety space. So at night time, try and get yourself that extra space, because that's what we always would say. There's personal space, there's police space. So you give yourself that little bit of extra distance. I mean, you can't be paranoid about everyone at every time, because you'll never get out of bed. You'll never leave house. You'll never do anything. But if you put yourself in that situation where and not be awares, you're going to get yourself into trouble. So to me, that was an easy step to be able to have a tactical disengagement, as you'd call it, where I need an excuse to go to my vehicle because I need my tools. A lot of guys would come in with their tool bags and vests or whatever the hell they got going on now, and they can instantly do the job because they just don't want to go back and forth to the van, which is fair enough. But I gauge safety over convenience, because that's our business. We want people to have the best security, but over convenience, we know security drops. Same with us. We need to have the best security for ourselves, so you don't want to compromise yourself by wanting to do the jobs there and then. You don't even know the situation as yet. Your spidey senses might be a little bit low. You just may not have that feeling on it, and it happens. It happens. But if that is an excuse, I always do is that's my exit. If I'm not happy with what's happening on, I basically just get in my. I got to go get my tools. Give us 5 minutes, and I'm leaving. I don't care about the phone. If they're ringing on the phone and they start verbally abusing me, I don't care. It's easy to press the button than it is to to be laying on a hospital gurney with a busted nose and an eye socket. But it's a method.
Yeah. Okay. That's very good. That's very good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to kind of share some of your tactics and stuff that you've used. You obviously have a very unique background, and so it's been really fun to kind of hear some of those strategies. And I really think for those watching and or listening, that just these little tidbits, right? Like they can take and apply into how they handle jobs that in the evening, or just jobs they don't feel quite right about. I think that's really good. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
There's a couple. I mean, if you guys and gals don't feel comfortable at all even on the phone, don't bother about it. Just let the job go through and not get it. The other one that I would suggest is to go to your public safety center or your 911 call-out center. Talk to the boss and introduce yourself and engage with them. Drop them a card, not for business like, but for your own personal safety, where, hey, here's a phone number. You can call in and say, look, I'm going into this area and I'm going to be doing the job. If there's any issues, it's going to be me. Also, vice versa, your partner, your business partner, your wife, your husband, whatever it is, have your GPS active on your phone and let them have the positioning too, and inform somebody that you're going to a location, because unfortunately, a lot of the times situations occur, nobody knows anything until the next day or some hours later, and there's no, and the urgency is definitely gone. On a technical sense, I know a lot of guys use their phones for everything. So they use it for their hotspot. They'll use it for all sorts of things. The only danger that I can say for that is that when you want to use your phone in an emergency, like to call 911, sometimes your phone is in some mode because it's using Wi-Fi or equipment's attached to it, and it causes delays, serious delays in being able to get out. So I've separated my technology. I have a separate Wi-Fi hotspot in my van, and my phone is just used as a phone. And I typically turn the Wi-Fi off as well, because the Wi-Fi overtakes the digital side of it for the data, and the phone becomes a secondary component, application for what actually it is. It's a phone, but it's not. It can cause delays. So. Didn't mean to go on that tangent, but the 911 call center, even if it's just the local police chief or some senior officer or a officer, just ask to see if there's somebody you can speak to, even if it's just 5 minutes to get in their face, so you get registered on their radar, so you've got somebody to call, and then they may call you on some, admittedly it might be crappy jobs, but there's a help them help you type situation. And you struck up a good relationship with them, and it ends up being a bit of a bonus.
Absolutely, Russell. That's some really good stuff. I'm really happy we've had this conversation, and I actually look forward to reading the comments on what everyone thinks and how they can apply some of what you have said into their lives. So I love doing these. I mean, it's really practical information, real information, and I'm hoping that we can help some people at least get some ideas on how they can, up their level of safety when they're doing the lock work.
Yep.
So, well, perfect, Russell. Well, hey, it's nice meeting you and having this conversation, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
See ya.
All right. Well, I tell you what, that was a great conversation. I even picked up a few little nuggets, and I really hope you did as well. But I'd really love to know what you think in the comments below. I look forward to reading them, and make sure that you include the hashtag Lockboss to automatically get entered in to win one of 5 free prizes we give away each week here on YouTube. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.